Coming to you live from Tampa Bay, Health Info Radio is proud to present The Pulse with your host, Carol Ann, your tough love administrator.
Welcome, everybody, to The Pulse, where you are always up to date with the latest, greatest health and fitness information. I am Carol Ann, your health and fitness expert, or as I like to say sometimes, your closet couch potato. Yes, I too like to hang out on the couch and watch a little, TV every now and again. So, I get it. A lot of times, fitness professionals, everybody has that stigma or has that thought that, we're out there exercising like 24/7 and eating healthy all the time. But, we're human too, so we like to hang out and take it easy sometimes as well. But today, gang, the show is exploding with health and fitness. We have two amazing guests here today. We have author and fitness professional Rita Moreau, and we have hypnotherapist and intuitive counselor Janet Reynolds. So I am very excited to learn all about what these ladies have to share. They are so inspirational, so wait until what they have to share with us today. In addition, we have Gym Bag today. That is where listeners out there can come on my Facebook page, which is Carol Ann Misfit, or you can email me questions and information that you're curious about. You want to know, information about should I eat before a workout or not eat before a workout, or like Rita and I, we were just talking about should we stretch before we exercise. So these are just general questions that everybody would like to know, and so we're going to talk about those later on today. And so we just want to continue you guys on your journey, help you on your way to vitality. And so we will get our guests in on that action as well as we talk about answering those questions. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of it, or else you will get varicose veins. So stay tuned. All right. But first, I have a hydrate alert for everyone. And this is the opportunity where we play a little game. And that is, we have the word of the day. And so every time our listeners out there, or if we can remember, when we hear the word of the day, we have a game called Guzzle for Your Muzzle. So whether it is taking a sip of water, or if you're drinking your protein shake right now, as you're listening to the show, every time you hear of the word of the day, take a sip of that. So take a guzzle for your muzzle. So the word of the day... Oh, you guys have been drinking a lot. Too bad we don't have tequila in here. The word of the day is health. All right, health. So every time, well, look at them. Look, they're already all right. They're in on it. Do you have your drink out there? Okay. Every time you hear the word health. All right. So today we are drinking. Today we are drinking the Thin Drink from Evolve Health, and this is awesome. It's a light, refreshing, carbonated drink. And it's mangosteen, or it has a mango flavor to it. But this is very unique in the fact that, we have a lot of people that are addicted to Red Bull or those monster drinks out there, but they're not necessarily healthy for us. So this is a great alternative. This has an herbal supplement, Shot of Bugre, which is a natural appetite suppressant. So not only can you have this in the afternoon when you're feeling that 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon slump, this is a great way. You might feel like you want to reach for unhealthy snacks, and this will not only give you a little bit of energy, hydrate yourself, but it also will suppress that appetite. So so this is a great Evolve Thin. All right, so gang, here we go. Don't hate, rehydrate. All right, gang, I have the pleasure of sitting next to a wonderful lady here, and I met this wonderful lady at a Pilates certification. One of the things that I do, I wear a lot of hats in the industry, and one of the things that I do is I go to facilities, universities, gyms, studios, and I facilitate for fitness professional certification. So if somebody in the industry would like to get certified in step aerobics or personal training, Pilates, yoga, I supply that education within a certification workshop. And so I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Rita Moreau here at the last Pilates certification that we had at USF. So, this lady, I tell you, she has an interesting background. So I'm very excited to have her here so that she can share with us all of her experiences, which led her to writing her very first book called Innocent Spouse. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But, Rita Moreau, thank you for joining us today on our show.
Happy to be here.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, good. And then also, we don't want to, leave out Janet over here. But, you really have an interesting background because, I always find it fascinating how people get from one place in their life to something completely different. You might set out on a path here and this is where you're envisioning yourself heading, but then all of a sudden life comes along and then just kind of redirects you. But it feels right, and sometimes you have to do that in your life. So, interesting. You have a background in writing for the IRS. Is that correct? That's a
I do, and
bad 3 letters. So tell us about that.
I do, and just to back up a little, I am retired from the Internal Revenue Service, and I worked there for over 33 years. And while I worked there, it was something I did not tell a lot of people because usually they were either very anxious to talk to me or not very anxious to talk to me. But nevertheless, I think growing up in what I call the big fat Greek family, where my grandmother and my mother daily were arguing, I became sort of the peacemaker, a mediator, and that just became part of my personality. So when I did start to work for the IRS, I gravitated to the appeals division, which is the part of the Internal Revenue Service, where if you are unfortunate enough to be audited, you always have your appeals. The appeals office is the part that deals with an independent section, just to give you a second look at what you're doing. So part of my job involved writing, writing the facts, the law, and how that issue was resolved.
Okay, so if I had an appeal, so if I were being audited and I were in trouble, I could write you. Would that be the way? And since, you led into being the peacemaker, but you would...
What would happen is, generally, if you are audited, you always are provided with your appeal rights.
Okay.
And you would just request, depending on the amount of the adjustments, you would request an appeal and ask for an appeals officer to sit down with you. And many, many times, this is the first time an individual has an opportunity to talk to somebody and explain what's going on. And as an appeals officer, it was my job to resolve the issue. And we did this looking at something called the hazards of litigation. So, for instance, if the issue had gone previously to court and half the time the government won and half the time, say, our taxpayer won, we can look at that issue and say, hey, we will split this issue in half as a settlement. Okay. So we had a little bit more authority to resolve the issue. And I really... I don't. It sounds strange saying, well, I enjoyed doing my job as an appeals officer. I found it very satisfying. I was able to help many, many people, in what was a kind of a black cloud part of their life. So part of that was a lot of writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does one transition from going from the IRS to now you're at USF, University of South Florida, teaching Pilates as an adjunct professor, yes?
Yes. Well,
how does that happen?
How that happens is, needless to say, working for the IRS, obviously is a very stressful job. So I had gravitated to, I always loved music. I always loved dancing. So I had gravitated to group fitness way back in the 80s when it first came on the scene.
Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda, yes, high impact aerobics. So it was something that I enjoyed doing, and at the end of the day, it kind of gave me a second win, a little bit more energy. So I got into doing group fitness, and then also as part of my job, everybody has a fear of public speaking, and believe it or not, that was something that I had to get comfortable with. So I thought, well, maybe I will try teaching group fitness. And so one thing led to another, and I started teaching group fitness. And one day, a fellow instructor asked me to cover a class for her out at the University of South Florida. This was in the 90s, and I have been there ever since. I just absolutely enjoy teaching group fitness for our students out there.
Now, so being that you're working with college-age students and, sometimes our kids these days are not as fit as what we would like them to be. Now, do you find that the kids that you're working with and teaching them, do you find that they're very open to taking your fitness classes? Are they very excited about it? I know that when I was there, I just seemed to got a very positive feedback from these group of kids. So tell us about how, working with kids and college-age kids and maybe your non-traditional student, how's that experience for you?
It's been great. It has been great. It's funny, I teach students at the University of South Florida, and I also teach the other age group, which is our silver sneakers, which is the average age is 80.
Oh, wow.
And but as far as our students, they are, especially with Pilates, and I tell them when they come in that room, the fitness room or the gym, leave everything outside the door. Come into that room. This is your time. Pilates is a mind-body experience, so it's also very relaxing. And they are, to me, they're like birds. They are open to becoming fit. I wish I had a nickel for every time they ask me, "Hey, how do I get rid of this pooch? I want a flat abs or better abs." But they are just like anybody else. They're interested in staying fit, and also as far as Pilates, it's like for me, gravitating all those years ago to group fitness, it's a stress buster.
Right. And
Yeah.
so these kids are under a lot of stress, especially with their workloads
absolutely.
and getting ahead. And what am I going to do when I get out of college? Because am I going to get a job? I mean, that's, probably huge on their minds and that.
Absolutely. And many of them are away from home, away from their support groups, their family. So, yeah.
So you become that replacement mom, right? You've
Well,
probably got a very nurturing
I think
way
I have
about
a very
you.
nurturing way about me, even though, and I don't tell them, I'm probably old enough to definitely be their mother. Now I think I'm getting close to their grandmother, but yeah, we do. I love it. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So another thing that you've done in your life, one of your experiences is that you motorhomed across the U.S.
Yes.
That has got to be very inspirational. You probably have a lot of stories. So how would you go out at like weeks at a time, or did you go out for months at a time? Tell us about your motorhoming across the U.S.
Okay, I will. For years and years and years, I worked as with the Internal Revenue Service, and my husband, who I met many, many years ago in Fort Lauderdale at the IRS, he went out on his own and had a private practice as a CPA. So we didn't get too many vacations until we were fortunate enough to retire, and so we found a bluebird, a vintage bluebird, an older bluebird, and we hopped on that bluebird and we went all around the country. We went out west, visited the national parks, and we were gone sometimes as much as 6 months of the year, and it was just fabulous. And the nice thing about it, you were totally away from your. It was like you were in another world, another life, so to speak, and it freed you up. It freed me up to tap into my creative side of my brain.
Okay, so let's get into that. So did you, moving on to your book here, being out and tapping into that creative process with, I looked at your book and it sounds very familiar with somebody that we know.
Yes.
So I know that you've pulled from your experiences in writing this book. So tell us, without, giving it away, because we want people to read the book, give us a little kind of synopsis of what this is about, and maybe, what can somebody learn from it, or what should somebody take away from your book?
Well, the name of my book is Innocent Spouse, and I guess in a nutshell, I would say it's a financial mystery. The main character is MC Mahoney. She is a CPA. Having worked for the IRS, somehow she loses her job with the IRS. Her job gets axed. And the mystery involves following a paper trail. Years and years and years ago, I think everybody has heard this, one way the government was able to nail Al Capone was through income taxes. So it's like a financial mystery murder, a lot of funny characters, a lot of humor. I think I started out just writing my book with, I hope that when they read the book, they take away, wow, that was a good book. I got a lot of good belly laughs out of it, and I had a good time reading it.
So what inspired you to write a book? Have you always wanted to write a book? Have you always had that drive in you and to, go into the fictional aspect? I guess, you're pulling from probably the realities of what happens with the IRS and your experience, with your husband being a CPA and that. But, how does one put that together?
I think it's something I've always wanted to do, and since I do have the time now to do it, and I just sat down and started writing, and I think it's something that you just start on that road. And if you're tenacious enough and you just keep at it, you will, just like a fitness goal, you will finish it. You will accomplish it. So I started writing, and some what I had read kind of fit my brain. It said, just write, just write, just write. So I think I ended up with 3 books in one. So I had to tailor it. I think the hardest part actually was editing the book and bringing it down to one book. So it's just something I wanted to do, and something I hope I will continue doing. And something I guess like you could say I checked it off now my bucket list,
right?
So to speak. Yeah.
Okay. Well, some people they check off going to a nudist colony, but you checked off writing a book. So does that mean that we're going to have sequels? Being that you've got 3 books into one, I feel a sequel coming on or something to follow.
I think so. There right now it's kind of rummaging around my head. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do, but I think it will follow the same characters, the same idea of a financial trail, following the paper trail type of murder mystery.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know that you have a passion. One of the issues that you really have a passion for, and really living here in Florida, this is a big topic, especially here in Florida, and that is skin cancer. And because this is a health and fitness show, everybody take a drink of your drinks out there. We said the word health. Okay. And you guys remember, we got to keep up with how many times we say that word so that we can, figure it out. But skin cancer, that is just on the rise, and I think people are becoming more and more aware of skin cancer and the prevention of skin cancer and the tanning beds. And I know that we live in a very in an age where plastic surgery is well accepted, or Botox. I mean, everything we have, with technology and the advances of, science and that, we've got things that we can do to keep us young and looking young. But I think a lot of people, they run to those tanning beds because that's another way that we can feel, I guess, beautiful on the outside, where we're actually damaging our skin in that. And then being in Florida with the sun here. So, talk about your passion for that and how you feel compelled to really step out and educate people about skin cancer and the prevention of.
I will, and I guess it's something close to my heart, because in 2009, I was diagnosed with skin cancer, melanoma, the most deadly form of skin cancer, and I had been visiting the dermatologist on an annual basis because, like a lot of folks, maybe my age, we grew up in the era where we wanted a tan. We baked in the sun without the proper sunscreen, used baby oil.
Baby oil with iodine.
Yes.
Did you do?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Did you do
Yes.
that?
Yes.
I did.
Yes.
I
I think
did.
we all
Remember that?
did. We all
Yes.
did. And even back, I remember growing up in Ohio, and a lot of teenagers my age at that time, we used something called sun lamps. So tanning was, oh yeah, I want to tan. And so I've been visiting the dermatologist on an annual basis because if nothing else, as you just mentioned, the skin will age you. The skin will age you. And there was a funny little spot on my lower left leg. And he said, well, let's do a biopsy. Next week he called me and he said, yes, it's a melanoma. So I became very aware of melanoma. And although I don't try to use my fitness room as a soapbox, when I can, I do try to tell my students, please, when you're out in the sun, lather up with a sunscreen, just be aware of it, because more and more, not only did I bake myself in the sun, I visited the tanning booths, skin cancer, including melanoma, unusually is on the rise with women 40 years and younger. So it's just something that it's happened to me. It could happen to anybody.
Well,
And it can be easily prevented. The earlier it's caught, it's like I'm talking off the top of my head, a 95% cure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the things that I've learned too, you always want to check yourself out and make sure you do, go to the dermatologist on a regular basis. But one of the things that has been brought to my attention are spots on the bottom of your feet.
Yes.
Like little freckles on the bottom of your feet because, usually when people are laying down on their bellies, their bottom of their feet are exposed and you don't think about that. And a lot of times
very true.
People, that's where it starts. And so
or
it's
your
just
scalp.
the scalp,
Or your
yes.
scalp.
Yeah.
I have a head full of hair.
Yeah.
It could be, could very well be.
All right, gang. So there you go. There's your PSA for today. Go get checked by your dermatologist on a regular basis, especially when, you're in the Florida area or, in the South. I mean, that's just typical, when you're out in the sun a lot. It's really, we get people from the North come down here all the time thinking, oh, I'm going to get a tan. And the sun's just more intense here. It really is, closer to the ocean or the Gulf and that. So, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today.
And if I can just put a little
put your blurb in there.
Put my blurb
Yes.
in there.
Yes.
The name of my book is Innocent Spouse. Just go to www.rrmoreau.com and read all about it. And thank you. Hey, thank you.
Awesome. And, we will be sure to post that on our website as well so that you all will have access to that. And then also be sure to check out my Facebook page, Carol Ann Misfit, and we will put that information out there as well. So awesome. Okay, we are moving on to what we call Gym Bag. And this is questions that I get. And these are our general questions that pretty much everybody would like to know. And so, the first question that we have comes from Sonia Valente, and she's from the greater New York area. And this is her question. She wants to know, what are the best snacks to avoid? It's kind of a backwards question, but the best snacks to avoid during that 2 to 4 slump time in the afternoon. Or, we can look at this and not only, something to avoid, but really what should we be snacking on? So here I put together a little list for everybody out there because we all experience that afternoon slump. And a lot of times it may not be that we're tired. It could be that we're dehydrated and we need to really get some water in. And so if we're feeling a little lethargic, reach for your water first and see if that takes care of the problem. But maybe, you do need a little pick-me-up. So the number one thing that you want to avoid, and that is sugar. sugar, just plain like your processed sugar. So don't reach for the M&Ms or your Skittles or your gummy bears or things that, you think you're going to, if you're at the office, they always have those little bowls of the candies and you're reaching for the mints or the whatever you have right there. So try to avoid that. Instead, what is true over and over again, or the common nutrient that you can reach for, is protein, and really balancing protein out with fruit, which is a natural sugar. Although that is sugar, it's natural. So avoid processed sugar and eat fresh fruit instead. You want to make sure that, even though fruit has sugar in it, but it's got fiber. And so it's going to add that bulk to your waist, so which is awesome. How about some flatbread crackers with hummus? Hummus is really good. Low-fat, tasty, it's a low-fat, tasty treat. Or some popcorn with apples. So you've got some fiber with the popcorn. You want to have, and pretty much, I think the point is that you want to avoid getting to that hunger state. So, if you're always staying on top of doing your 5 to 6 small meals a day and keeping yourself up to speed and keeping your metabolism stoked, you're going to probably avoid that slump altogether. But if you do hit it, you want to have 2 to 3 portions of protein daily, maybe a tablespoon of coconut oil daily to stop that sweet carbs cravings. How about some hot herbal tea that you can sip on, which is really nice. Nuts are always good. Always have on hand some colorful veggies, and you can dip it in your hummus or even maybe some low-fat ranch dressing. Greek yogurt is also a great little snack that you can have because it has protein in it, and maybe a splash of lemon juice. And lemon juice, if you add that to your water or even with your Greek yogurt, it always gives you that little burst in your metabolism, a little bit of lemon juice. I love this suggestion: a teaspoonful of liquid B complex. Now, if you can stomach, or even if you can stand taking, the complex B, the liquid complex B, it will kill the sugar cravings. And then we have guarana and more B vitamins to increase the energy levels. But the main thing to avoid that slump is 5 to 6 small meals a day. Make sure you remain hydrated, drink lots and lots of water. And this is the one thing that I like to encourage people. Every time you think of water, just always have it on hand. Get yourself a cute little water bottle that, design it and put your name on it like you were when you were first grade, or, sparkle it up or
Your
whatever.
lunchbox.
Right. But, make it yours, personalize it, and always have it on hand. And every time you think of drinking water, do what we call the 10-second chug. Take 10 seconds and just chug as much water as you can throughout the day. So hopefully that will keep people upbeat and moving through that 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock slump period of time, But don't go to Sonic. Sonic has those afternoon happy hours where you can get their little slushy drinks for half price. Avoid that. Okay, I have a 7-year-old, so that's how I know about Sonic and their little happy hour before 4 o'clock. Don't go. All right. Kimberly from New York City area as well. Her question is, eating before your workout. Should you do it or should you not do it? Is it good or is it bad? This is so controversial in terms of, you have so many professionals out there telling their clients, when you wake up first thing in the morning, and pretty much we're talking about early in the morning before 7 a.m. We have a lot of professionals telling their clients as soon as you get up, get to the gym, and you want to exercise on an empty stomach because you're going to tap into your fat stores, and that's what you're going to burn off first. Then we have other professionals saying, no, you really want to get something in your system and have something there, because if you really stopped eating 3 hours before going to bed, we're talking 12 hours since you've had something to eat, and you're not going to have enough energy to get you through your workout. And, and really, my thought process has always been, if you can stand it, and if you can get up, and if you can train on an empty stomach, you're going to really tap in into those fat stores. You're going to burn off that energy and then eat right after you train, because then you're going to fuel those muscles back up to where you broke them down. However, there is a study out there. And of course, what do we always say after we complete a research study? They always say in their discussion after the conclusions, we need more research. So it always ends with, okay, we need more research done on this topic. So, it's never really conclusive all the time, but there's a study out there. It's in the International Journal of Sports and Nutrition Exercise. And it's in their February 2011 issue, so it's pretty recent. But the study is exercising, fasting, or fed to enhance fat loss. I mean, that's what people really want to know. Am I going to burn fat? So it's the influence of food intake on respiratory ratio and excess post-exercise oxygen. Okay, what does that mean? All right. We have what's called RER value. This is huge because people want to know, am I burning sugar when I exercise or am I burning fat when I exercise? RER is respiratory exchange ratio. It's what the exercise physiologists measure when an individual is exercising. So it's on a continuum, and it goes from 0.8, which is 100% fat burning, to 1.0, which is 100% sugar burning, or you're burning all carbohydrates. So that is the scale there. And so when you measure somebody's respiration or their exchange, respiratory exchange, they have that measurement. So they can really tell if you are burning fat or sugar when you're exercising. So it's hardcore data. So that's why I love this study. And of course, this is just one study, but they compared individuals in a fed state to individuals that were in a fasted state, or what do they call it? Fed state, looking, or a fasted state. Yep. And so what they did was they took these individuals and they gave them the same amount of exercise. They measured their exchange ratio, the respiratory exchange ratio. What they came up with is that the individuals that were in a fed state, they were actually burning more fat as opposed to on an empty stomach.
Okay.
So all
that's good to know.
Isn't that good to know?
Yes.
That is
Yes.
good to know.
So, gang, it's research. It's backed by research. So, take it for what it's worth. A lot of people, this could be the downside of it, that some individuals, may not feel good when they have food in their stomach when they're exercising. They may become a little nauseated, and then some people become nauseated on an empty stomach. But it just is that
do.
you?
Yes.
So it's going to be on how that individual feels, based on if they're going to perform well or not during their exercise session. And we're talking early in the morning. That's really where the question comes from. But that is the research that backs that up,
Very
and
interesting.
there you go.
Very interesting.
All righty, so thanks for that, gang, and keep those questions coming. We have one more question that we will get to later on in today's show, but first, I want to get to this beautiful young lady over here, Miss Janet Reynolds, and I tell you, I'm very, very intrigued in terms of what you do, because for me, it is an unfamiliar territory, and I'm excited to learn more and more about it. But you are what they call an intuitive counselor, a spirit medium. You're a reverend. We've got all these wonderful titles, and so I want to learn all about it. But once again, we've got an individual who goes from, you owned a data processing business.
I did.
Now a spirit medium. So I feel like we've done a 180 or something where you go totally hardcore data, and now spirit. So
That's a beautiful way to say it.
yeah, right?
Spirit.
Spirit.
Yeah.
Spirit fingers. So talk about that. Talk about, first of all, your business and the data processing business. Talk about that.
Well, I learned how to key punch or do data entry when I was 17 years old. So, but what I did is I was married and I had 2 children. So we were able, I worked with a woman who put a key punch machine, as we called it in that time, in my home. And I was able to stay at home and do data entry. And what that did, it worked into a business in D.C. So it took many years, but what I did was when I left D.C., I came here 31 years ago, and I started doing data entry again. I started my own business, which was Jan Ray Data Processing. When I was in D.C., it was called Jan Ray Key Punch. But since we evolved, is that a good way to say it?
That's exactly what came to my mind. Yes.
Yes. So what I did is I said data processing service bureau, and I did. I had a goal. I had a financial goal in my mind, and then what I wanted to do was I wanted to put machines in people's homes as I did in D.C. So it took me 13 years. But I finally managed to get home operators and machines put out there. And I ran a data entry business here for 25 years.
Wow.
25 years.
Very successful, I can imagine. So
I can honestly say to you, it was a successful business. I was a successful female.
I love it.
Having my own business, and I had a contract with Department of Motor Vehicles for 18 years.
Wow.
So I had a lot of very good contractors.
Yeah.
I really did. I did work for Target. I did work for Moss Brothers when I first moved down here. It took me
remember
6
them.
months.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yes. They turned into Burdines.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it took me 6 months of really talking to the woman who ran the data processing service bureau there. Their inside was Jan. Her name was Jan. It took me 6 months. And I just happened to one day call her and say, Jan, do you need any help? And she was pulling her hair out at the time, and she said, yes, would you please come over here? And I got that contract also. So I worked hard in data entry. It taught me a lot. It really did. The one thing about running a business that I have learned is you've got to go in there with a positive mind, and you need to put the fires out. Then you go home and you leave it behind you. You really do. And that was hard for me to do, but I did eventually learn to do that.
So how do you go from data processing to intuitive counselor? That freaks me out because I'm wondering if is she reading me right now?
No, I read you when you came in the door.
Oh no! Oh no!
Well, let me say one thing. When you run your own business, and I did my own sales, so what does that teach you? It teaches you how to work and how to read people. So I did learn a lot about how to read people when I was running a business, but I don't abuse it. So let me say that to you.
Okay.
But I have always been interested in spirits. My grandmother is Cherokee, and my grandfather was Irish, so I got a good combination here. And Mama always taught us about spirits and ghosts. So I never had fear of that. And the one thing also that she taught me was that our soul does roam 3 days right after we pass over. So, and she proved that to me when she came to my house after she died. And I had it was about a 50-pound mirror on my wall, and it was on 100-pound weights. And that mirror slid right off my wall. It slid, it didn't break. It just slid right off. So that when I got up the next morning, I knew that my grandmother had passed over. That was her way of letting me know. So my aunt called me and said, "Well, Mama just passed," and I said, "I know."
I know. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes,
Mhm.
but because of that, when I moved here, I used to get readings quite sometimes in D.C. and Maryland, and then when I moved here, I bumped into a woman by the name of Beverly Field, and she was a medium, and I got a reading from her, and she said to me, "Janet, because of your faith and how you feel about things, you really need to really learn all of this."
Wow.
So God love her heart. She was my mentor for about 8 years. And it's amazing. It really is when I think about it, when I think back, because we have to go back 31 years ago. But Beverly was great. So I took all of her courses and got it started while I was running my business. So then she's the one who certified me a psychic. It started out as a psychic. And then what I did was I started going to different churches. And I am a Catholic. And that's okay too. Sometimes they say a non-practicing Catholic.
Well, is there a struggle? Because isn't, Christianity and that, isn't it kind of, it's probably more of a fear thing, right? What do you think?
It's fear-based.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's, you can pray anywhere. You don't have to be in a church. You really don't. You can just go pray in your living room if that's what you want to do. And when I started going to different churches, and I went to Harmony Metaphysical Church, which is in Tampa off of Henry, and I was there for 12 years. And I took a 2-year course to become an ordained minister. I couldn't believe it. And the thing is really, it was special to me because it was my birthday that they ordained me. So then we all had a big party, and all my friends came. And this necklace I have around on my neck now is one of the gifts somebody gave me.
Oh, that is
They're
beautiful.
praying hands. But I never thought I would be an ordained minister. And the thing that's important here is that when I do go to the churches, I love to give sermons. I write my own sermons, and I write my sermons on life, on situations that happen to me, to where I can try to hopefully talk to other people and help them through that situation if it were to happen to them. So, but I remember calling home to my aunt. My aunt raised me, and my grandmother did too. But I remember calling home, telling my aunt I was an ordained minister. I did it. I'm an ordained minister. And her answer to me was, "Whatever, Janet."
Oh.
Whatever. And I knew she was very upset about that. So I didn't talk to her much about it. I really didn't. But then when I let her know I was a psychic, that was something else too. So, you just have to do in life what you feel good about.
Now, for your being a psychic, is that something that you're born with? Or is this a skill that you learn over time? Or I've always been curious about that. Like if you're born with this gift, if it's a gift that you're born with, or if this is a skill that you learn.
Well, we're all born with it. We really are. Every one of us are very intuitive. Every one of us. But what I did is I enhanced it. So by taking all of the classes and all of the training that I've had in the 30 years, that is what helped me to enhance what I already had. My grandmother was very clairvoyant, but Mama never talked about it. She was born with what they call the veil. That's like an extra layer of skin over your face. And see, I'm clairvoyant to where I see symbols. I'm clairaudient to where I sincerely hear words. And I'm clairsentience to where I go by my feelings. So I have the three main ones. I'm going to say that because I think there's five clairs. And I enjoy it. I really do. It's been important to me to do my work, to do intuitive counseling. It really has been. And I feel help a lot of people.
So what do people come to you for? Like what are some of the things that they're looking for when they come see you? What are they wanting out of that experience?
Because I have run a business for the 25 years here, and then I ran a business in DC before I moved down here, a lot of them come wanting help with business questions.
Oh.
So I help them that way. A lot of people also come because of the fact that I'm spirit medium, meaning that the other side does talk with me or to me, or I talk to them. Family members sometimes will come in, and the fact that they get to talk to a close family member that has passed over helps a lot of people also. They will give me their name. They will tell me how they look. Sometimes a grandmother will come in and say she's mom's mom, and she's sometimes I can see where she's busty or stocky, and then with that, that's confirmation to who they are. And usually the individual that I'm doing the reading for knows as soon as I say something.
Wow.
So-
Wow. Now, again, is that something that we all have, or is that really something special that you have?
No, I feel all of us have it.
Okay.
I do, Carol Ann. You know how you go by your gut
Yes.
gut instincts?
Yes.
That's so important because they really do and are trying to tell us what to do or what not to do. And I don't mean it that way because they don't control us,
Right.
but they're trying to help us.
Got it.
And they do that. It's through your gut feeling. When you feel like, no, you shouldn't do that, well, then no, you shouldn't do that. See? So, no, we all have it. It's just, fear. People put fear into children when children come out and say that they talk to a spirit or that there's somebody in their room. And children really don't have problems with that. Adults have problems with that sometimes. And then what they do is they put the fear into the child, and then the child will put it away or forget it and won't allow it.
So this really is like The Sixth Sense.
It
You've seen that
is.
movie, yes?
Yes, it is. Yes. And, even like with my grandson, my daughter would call me and say to me, he's just laughing. He's just laughing. And he would be sound asleep, Joshua. Well, we always say the angels are talking to him. See? So, yes.
So what is hypnotherapy?
Well,
what does one do when they come to you for that?
Well, I took hypnotherapy. I don't do it much because of the intuitive counseling, but hypnotherapy is mind. It's helping the mind. You can do situations that you don't feel you can do if you get hypnotized and take your mind and help yourself with it. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, because it's mind power. Mind power. Hypnosis is it's deeper than meditation, and you can let go of a fear with the help of hypnosis. You can stop smoking with the help of hypnosis. There's a lot that you can do with it, and I took the course. I just figured it out. I took it in 1997.
Okay.
So that was quite a few years ago, but you can still, and I used to use it on myself, and I still can. So it helps your mind, gives you mind power.
So I, past Friday, I just watched the movie The Secret. Are you familiar?
Yes.
The Secret?
Mm-hmm.
It changed my life.
Yes.
Absolutely changed my life. And, when I grew up in a very strict religious household, Christianity, my dad's a deacon in the Baptist church, but it was fundamental, independent, hellfire, brimstone, Bible thumping, believing Baptist. And I always say, I wish I were Southern Baptist because that would have been way cooler. But I just feel that, it was just presented to me in such a way that it just kind of opened my eyes. And so I was very excited to have you here today because I knew that was very much on the same level and just, using your mind and very intentful thinking when you want to achieve something in your life. you think about it and you believe in it and you just focus your energy on what you want to accomplish. And it sounds, especially with your business acumen, I love that because you can help a lot of people in terms of just really focusing your energy. And it is law of attraction, and you can have everything that you want. And I
agree.
I love
agree
it.
too.
I love it,
Yeah.
love it, love it.
I agree.
So,
Yeah.
Yes.
so thank you for everything. I want to talk about your spirit guide, Blue Feather,
Okay.
because this is your website, and tell
Yeah.
me about that.
Well, I learned about Blue Feather the 31 years ago when I came down here. And one of the women that worked with Beverly Field was the one that told me that he was around me all the time. And the thing that was really pretty neat that made me think about it was she used to say to me, he came in and he said to tell you to be careful shaving your legs.
Well, okay.
So I know he's around, but no, he was my father in a past life, and he's been with me for quite a while, and he is my gatekeeper. He is, and he's on the left of me, and I have learned to channel him to where I do channeling, and I allow him to come through, and he will talk with you, and he loves to answer questions for individuals. He just loves it. I just did it Sunday at the Temple of Light. And Blue Feather is a warrior. He did walk the Trail of Tears.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
He said that he walked many miles. So he went from there out west. And the fact that he was my father in a past life, which I did see in a meditation, I really like that. But just to give you something else funny to think about is when I was in Camp Chesterfield and we did a gathering, Blue Feather came through and he said to me, you have led a very challenging life. And I said, oh, who don't know that? And then he came back and he said, but you have been a challenge also.
He seems like he's got a good sense of humor.
He's got a beautiful sense of humor. He really does. And I was sitting there thinking of all or some of the things that I've done. And I said, oh, okay. So,
Wow.
but he is, he's a good man and he does have a good sense of humor. And he is Cherokee. He is from, of course, the Carolinas. That's based on the Trail of Tears too. And see, my family is North Carolina, but Fredericksburg, Virginia is where my grandmother was born. But it's all in my background.
And that's where the accent comes from.
Yes, it
Very
is.
interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
I can hear that Southern accent. I love it. Love it. Well, is there anything that you would like to plug or, tell people where they can get a hold of you? Because this is so interesting and I love it. So tell people.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. You can go to my website. I have a video out there. It's www.bluefeather.net. And then you can email me, Janet, at bluefeather.net. So I try to make it as easy for you as possible. I do phone readings. I do a lot of events to where I come to your home and we'll either do a seance and or a gathering for readings.
Business organizations would really benefit from you coming in and doing readings and helping folks in like Chamber of Commerce gatherings or, just any event like that. I see you probably do events like that. So with business owners and that.
I'm close to that.
Okay. All right.
close to
Well,
that.
I have something in mind, so I'm excited. Janet, gang, everybody out there listening, Janet also has podcasts on her website, so you definitely want to go check that out. Listen to all the fabulous information that she has to share with us. I love it. This has been a learning experience for me, and especially with my experience of watching The Secret on Friday. I literally, gang, if you haven't seen that would change your life as well. All right, we have one last question from our gym bag, and this let me see who this comes from. This comes from Aaron Bosner from Philly, PA, and he asks, what is your definition of unhealthy? Well, on surface value, you can you can simply answer that question by saying, well, it's just basically free from sickness or illness or disease. But what about, an individual who is overweight or even obese and getting to that level of morbid obesity? They go to the doctor, but yet their vitals are still normal. So the blood pressure is normal, resting heart rate is normal, cholesterol is normal. However, they are overweight. So are they still healthy or not? So, you have to take into consideration all aspects of what makes an individual healthy. And that is, can you function on a day-to-day basis? And are you truly happy with yourself? So, if you're happy with yourself, your vitals, your blood pressure, your resting heart rate, cholesterol, all of that is in a healthy, normal range. You have to go and ask yourself, are you truly happy with your lifestyle? Are you eating properly? Are you exercising? Also, the question is, can you be unhealthy but fit? And sometimes, it's a good question, right? So, sometimes you've got people out there that are marathon runners, they're fit, but they may have an underlying heart condition that they didn't know about. And you hear stories about, that individual dropped dead of a heart attack. Well, maybe they lived longer than what they really should have because they did all the right things. And you can be healthy but not fit, which is an interesting angle as well. So, the takeaway from this is you can't really take things at face value when you're asking, what is your definition of unhealthy? And, we all have to still do what you're supposed to do. We need to exercise 3 to 5 days a week. You need to get cardio exercise in there. In other words, get your heart rate up for at least 30 minutes at a session. You need to get your weight training in, and you need to focus on flexibility. So you need to have those 3 components into place and keep your body fat in check. For women, if we're between 15 to 25% of your body composition being fat, that's okay. For men, if you're holding within 10 to 20% body fat composition, that's healthy. So again, you have to do it all. There's no magic pill. There's no, magic bullet, if you will. You have to do the right thing, and you have to stay on top of your health and do it for yourself. Maintain good relationships so that your spirit, right, is in check with a healthy lifestyle. So great question out there, Erin. Thank you so much, gang. Keep those questions coming. Carol Ann, Miss Fit on Facebook. Well, that's it. That wraps it up. I mean, the hour goes by really fast, doesn't it, ladies?
It really does.
Okay, so thank you all. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you,
Janet.
I appreciate it.
It's been awesome. You guys check them out. Go visit their web pages. Check us out on Facebook. We will be posting this broadcast again so that you can review it again. And be sure to tune in every Tuesday at 12:30 to 1:30 at www.healthinforadio.com, where you will definitely have your finger on the pulse with Carol Ann.
You have been listening to The Pulse on healthinforadio.com every Tuesday, 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern Standard Time.